To open Solidworks, find the red cube with SW and double-click. It'll take some time for Solidworks to load. Once it does, we're going to choose between part, assembly, and drawing. Today we're going with part. To get started, we're going to head over to the top left corner and we're going to look for the Sketch tab. Once we click Sketch, we're again going up further top left and pressing the actual Sketch button. Doing so will give us three planes: front plane, top plane, and right plane. Notice as I move my cursor that each plane highlights. It's important that we choose the front plane. Notice here we have a red arrow that is the same as a graph on the Y and X axes. So the next step is to choose a rectangle in the top left. Click your mouse on that button and come down to the XY axis. A simple click of the mouse and drag it over to the right, and you can make the shape of a rectangle. To give specific dimensions, we go to the top left corner again and click on Smart Dimensions. Then, coming over to one of the sides of the square or rectangle, we click and click once again. SolidWorks then provides us with a chance to input precisely what we want, and we can click OK by pressing the green arrow. There we have 5. And once again, click on the other line, click once again to enter the next dimension, which will be 5 inches, and this time I hit enter on the keyboard, which is the same as pressing the green button. Next we're going to want to add the depth, so we go over to the Features tab on the top left and then press Extrude Boss Base. Selecting the arrow in the middle, we drag it back. And we can do this manually, or we can come over and enter in the precise measurement that we want for depth. Keep your attention on the left part of the screen where the depth is being entered as 0.75. Once that's done, head over and click OK with the green arrow. Now we have depth to our 5x5 square. The cube figure on the top menu here will give you a top view, front, right, and you can play around with what is the best way to view your object. Next, we're going to like to sketch on this, so we go back over to our Sketch tab, click on it, and then click on Sketch. When we click on Sketch, we have to click the face of our object that we want to sketch on. So we click the front face, and then we'll head over to the circle and click on the front face with the circle. Once we've done that, once again head over to the top left, click Smart Dimensions, because we can give the precise measurements instead of trying to guess it freehand. So we can start by clicking on the edge of the circle to enter the radius. Once we click, once again our drop menu comes, and when you enter your radius you can click the green check mark or press enter on your keyboard. Now, clicking the center of the circle and the edge, once again the dimension comes up where you can click the green button or press enter. Once again press the middle of the circle, then the line. When that number's there, click again to bring up this box, enter 0.75 and press enter or click the green check mark. Since we have a lot of circles to make, there's a way to make them quicker. So we're going to make sure the circle is highlighted, go to linear sketch pattern, and in the left bar we're going to change the spacing between the circles to be 0.75 of an inch and hit enter. The column just below that we can increase to 5 because we want 4 extra circles for a total row to have 5 circles. Press the green check mark. And there we go. Very easy. The procedure to continue the shape of the triangle is very simple. We want to have a circle highlighted, go into linear sketch pattern, and then change the angle to 60 degrees and make sure that the spacing is once again 0.75 an inch. Once we have that, increase to the number of circles that we need to get to the peak of the triangle and hit the green check mark. Now that we have our triangle outlined, continue by selecting the circle of the next row, hit linear sketch pattern, and make the same spacing, but this time hit 4 and then the green check mark. This process continues for each row, where you select the circle, make the spacing 0.75 of an inch, and then choose how many extra circles we're going to add for that row. This is the second last row, so we select the circle, go into linear sketch pattern, make sure it's 0.75 an inch spacing, and then choose how many extra circles we want. And there's our pattern. The way it is now, these circles are just on the surface of our square, and we want to make them holes so that we can fit pegs in to play the IQ tester. The way to do that is to extrude cut. So we have to click into features in the top left and then press extrude cut. You can rotate the square to see there's an arrow and the yellow circles are showing how much depth we're putting into our cut. The way to change that depth is in the left bar, insert 0.50 and then hit the green check mark. If you're wondering if it worked, you can hold down the mouse scroller and rotate it, or change the view to isometric and then take away the solid coloring. And you can see the dotted lines clearly show that we've made the extrusion. In the top left corner, press sketch and then select a circle after switching your square to be exactly front faced. With this circle, we're then going to trace on the front face. You can make it any size because we're going to go into the top left corner and press Smart Dimensions, then select the outside of the circle, click once again and change the dimensions. Type in 1.5 and press the green arrow or enter. Now, the midpoint of the circle and clicking on the outside edge will bring up this menu where I can enter 1.25 by clicking the green arrow and pressing enter. The midpoint to the top line, I didn't click the top line there, so I go into Smart Dimension, hit the midpoint of the circle, then click the very top line of the square, enter in 1.25, press enter. Now here I'm trying to go from the midpoint to the edge, and I've already done that, so the system won't let me. I merely have to edit the existing distance into 1.25 and press enter. With the circle correctly aligned, we then head to the top left, click on Features, then click Extrude Cut. You can rotate to see that it is already set to a certain depth, and on the left tab we want to enter 0.5 and then press the green check mark. Final thing before saving is to head over to the left menu where you will see Material. Right click and then press Edit Material. This will take some time to load. Once the menu loads for the types of materials you can pick, you can minimize to see the categories, head into wood and select the appropriate wood that you would like to have for your project. On the top menu, there's an arrow next to the floppy disk. Please press Save As and then stored in the appropriate destination as a Solidworks file. The next step is to send it to Mastercam. So we'll bring our cursor up to the top left. We'll head on over to Tools. We are looking for Mastercam Direct and then Mastercam. Once we press this, it is not sent yet. Ensure on the left menu that both options are checked and then press the green check mark. This will then send this file to Mastercam and open up what we need to use in Mastercam. Takes a moment for Mastercam to load, and when it does, you can go ahead and cancel out of that. And I'm using the scroll on my mouse to resize this, but an easier way would be to right click and press fit. There we get a much clearer picture of what we're working with. We want to change the units, so we'll go over to File in the top left, then click Configuration. In this menu here on the bottom, we're going to change it. Press OK, and then click the green arrow and yes. Once again, right click, press Fit. We're going to go up and press the Machine tab, then find Router, click on that. I have a Larkin set up for this tutorial. Delete machine group 1, then press the plus sign next to Properties and go into Files, then Tool Settings. Make sure that we have the Warn of Duplicate tool checked. Then we're going to go up to the top right and press Stock Setup. We're going to move the point of origin to the left corner of the box. Press all entities, and X, Y, Z should all be reading 0 to your bottom left there. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and click the green check mark. We're going to create some instructions for the toolpath. So we go to the top left, press drill. Once we've done that, we're going to bring our cursor to the top left of the square. Click right now and hold that click to make that blue square cover up the triangle. There's our drill path, and to switch that, we're going to go to selected order and then hit X zig. That changes the direction of the drill and makes it. After clicking the green check mark, we're going to be into our tool path. Go down to Tool and click. This is the place where we're going to select our drill bit. Now it says 1/8 drill already, but we're going to select 1/8 straight bit. That is going to be down in 144. The number might be different for your SolidWorks. So once we select that, you can see that the change has been made. And we're going to move on down through the menu. We're going to ignore these options here, and we are looking for linking parameters. Click on it. Once we're in, we're going to go down to depth on the bottom, the most bottom number, change it to absolute. Then we're going to delete whatever input is there, and we're going to make sure it's negative 0.375. There's nothing that we need to modify in these menus, so we can go down and click on the green check mark. In the left sidebar menu, we're going to go to Verify Selected Operations. It's possible that you'll get an error message when you first click it. That's alright, just X out, say OK, X out, and go ahead and press it again. This is going to load a visual image of what we just told the drill bit to do. So you can make it an isometric angle and go ahead and adjust the speed and press play. Here you see the drilling pattern that we just established in toolpath. Now we can right click, press top, and it's time to do the toolpath for that top right corner. So we'll start by pressing pocket in the top left corner, and then we'll go over to the circle and we'll click to make it an arrow, and then that double arrow in the bottom left menu will turn the cut rotation to clockwise. We're going to hit the green check mark. In tool, it's set to half straight bit, so we're going to use the 1/8 straight bit, which is selected in the previous cut, so we click that. We'll leave cut parameters and head into roughing. Here we want to find true spiral to the far right. Press that. We're going to move on down, and we're going to turn off entry. Next is lead in, lead out. We want to leave that off. So do not press, leave it off. Here we have depth cuts. We're going to turn that on and change the input to 1 16th, and when you press enter, it'll give you the decimal value. If we want to go into linking parameters, change the depth to absolute, and change the numerical input to negative 0.5, 0.5, press the green check mark. Now we're going to go to verify selected operations, click, adjust the view to isometric. That's a right click to do that, and then we press play, and we can see that we've made the correct instructions that we wanted as the pocket is made. Last thing we want to do here is to find contour in the top left, click it. We're going to right click to get a top view, and then we press on the top line and we see the green arrow there. That is what we want. Make sure that the chain is selected and we press the green arrow. Now we go to tool. Once again, select the 1/8 straight bit, and we're going to go on down through the menu. Don't need to do anything to cut parameters. We're going to turn on depth cut. We're going to change the input to 1/16, and that gives you a decimal numerical value automatically when you hit enter. Lead in and out. We're going to leave that on for this one. Breakthrough, not going to do anything to it. Next thing we want to do is tabs. We're going to select that. That's important. We're going to head on down and make it vertical. Change the thickness to 0.125. Going to leave the width just where it is at 0.75. In the tabs portion, we're going to want to hit position, and this is where the tabs are going to go. So choose down the bottom left and up at the top right. It could also be the bottom right and the top left, as long as they're opposing. Then press enter on the keyboard to bring back this menu. Linking parameters, change the bottom menu to absolute, change the numerical value for depth. We're going to enter negative 0.8, then click the green check mark. We're going to go into view selected operations and go to isometric view by right clicking and pressing isometric view, then click play. You can see that it cuts the side, and that little area is your tab. So exit out of this and right click to bring it to top. As you can see here, we're going to want everything in this toolpath to be selected before we move on. That ensures that all three toolpaths have green check marks. So when we go into verify selected operations, you'll see all the cuts that are going to be made by the CNC. So we can go to isometric, press play, and we have everything that we programmed happening as an overall sequence. At this stage, you're going to want to save your work, so go over to the floppy disk icon and save as. Put it in a folder that you know that you can access. Give it a name that has your last name as part of it to make it easier. Hit save. Ensure that all those three icons have a green check mark next to them when you go over to make your G code. Click on the G1 icon and then the green check mark. Give your file a name, know where it's being saved, and click Save. Once Mastercam Code Expert is completed running, it's going to show a window with your code. You can exit out of that, as the file you need is already saved in your documents, depending on where you gave it a path. And that completes the tutorial for the IQ tester. Thanks for watching and listening.